Every Friday, we bring viewers a new episode of the city's only television news show, Naperville News 17. We're proud to announce that on Friday, October 26th, we'll be celebrating our 300th episode. For the next 3 shows, we'll be airing special stories about Naperville News 17, beginning this week with a behind-the-scenes look at how we put together last week's episode. Although Naperville News 17 is a weekly show, how did everything go this weekend? News happens 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All weekend, reporters are out covering events happening throughout the city and get added into the next week's show. On Monday morning, the entire news team gets together for a meeting discussing story ideas to add to the mix of weekend events. We'll sit down and Liz and I kind of lead the discussion, but it really is a team effort where people kind of talk out their stories. And yeah, I might have an idea for the story that I've assigned you, but they might have something completely different.
I like the Monday morning meetings. I think when they go well, they really set the week well, and then when they go bad, they really then we're struggling.
On an average week, we cover about 15 stories, but this week we had 25 following the Monday meeting, making it a bigger week than usual. Being the producer, I make the decision about which stories can fit in the 30-minute newscast and which will go straight to the web. I also lay out the order of the show. What ones are going to go well together? What ones need to be top of the show versus the bottom of the show? How over am I or how under am I that I need to go create more news? Once they know their final assignments, reporters hit the ground running. This week, Kevin Maychek took that literally.
I did a great story on a marathon pacer. I was able to join her for a jog, and that's part of the exciting part of news. You really get to be invested in the story and take part in the story sometimes.
Reporters work hard every day to uncover some of the best stories in Naperville. And for each of us, NCTV 17 was our first stop after graduating college.
Each one brings in a different point of view and a unique set of circumstances, but they all come in with a common goal, and that's the neat thing. They want to come in and they want to be a reporter. They want to have that experience of learning how to tell a story, because that's really what we do differently here. We tell stories.
All reporters are expected to become a mini expert on their topic.
They understand that even though they may not be a mom or a dad or have a terrible disease or something like that, they can empathize. We're really stretching that empathy muscle so that we can get that person, that reporter, to understand and walk in the shoes of that person.
The candidates laid out 2 very different plans for the country.
Our crew is made up of reporters, camera operators, interns, graphic designers, and sports reporters.
On the volleyball court, Bennett Academy started its season red hot.
Many elements have to come together to create the final project. Tuesdays and Wednesdays are heavy shooting days, with multiple reporters out covering events and getting interviews. Shooters are assigned to reporters as often as possible, but sometimes they have to one-man band. After taping, the project is just getting started. Everyone writes their own scripts, which go through multiple drafts before reaching Kim Pierce.
Kim's role is another set of eyes, because we get so involved, all of us, that sometimes we hook on to something that, it's a great part of the story, but it's not the main emphasis. And sometimes, we got to shake that loose, and that's what Kim's job is.
There are different types of stories in the show, from smaller like VOs or voiceovers, when the viewer hears the anchor but doesn't see them, to VOSOTs, which is a voiceover with a soundbite, to a package, a well-told story that interweaves video with reporter tracks and soundbites.
Caroline Yasuda has laced up her sneakers to be a pacer in this year's Bank of America Chicago Marathon.
Every week we cover a variety of stories that this community cares about, like city council meetings, school issues, events, national topics, and personal stories.
Things that really affect people and things that I think our viewers can connect with, because that's what makes a great story, is that emotion that goes into a story.
Each story also has to have an over-the-shoulder graphic. Tim Baclita, also our webmaster, spends a few hours a week blending pictures together to match the story. Thursdays are one of the biggest days in the office. Reporters and techs often scramble to meet the Thursday evening deadline. It's also taping day, so after reading through the script, I get ready to go under the lights, which Kevin sets up every week before sitting in on the taping. Coming up on Naperville News 17. We do use a virtual set, so it actually might look that I'm standing there in a place, but it's really just a blue screen. and I read off a teleprompter, and we sometimes I do mess up, and we have to start over and read things again. After taping, Kevin puts on his editing hat and sets up for the night in the editing room. On average, he wraps up around 1 in the morning after making the show look as perfect as possible.
Editing is sort of that last step. It's sort of the last line of defense, if you will. I'll spend time color correcting, I'll spend time, carefully placing each shot deliberately with a purpose, It really takes a lot of hours and a lot of care, It's basically our child that we all kind of raise together throughout the week, and then I'm sort of the last caregiver.
Labanzi is spelled with an IE.
Fridays are our last chance to catch any errors. We watch the show together, making sure the news is as current as possible. Then at 6 p.m., the show goes up, and Naperville residents can count on a new episode of Naperville News 17 that connects the people, places, and happenings of their town. Be sure to tune in next week for a special Where Are They Now segment on a few Naperville News alumni, and the following week for our 300th episode.